Hey yo, people, Shaxo here once again. I personally love the zoom and boom playstyle, but usually I end up with a very squishy character. However, that is not the case this time. I tanked that! The moment I saw the new Com Spirit gloves, I was like, yo, that on Inquis? That version Berserk? Huge! So I ended up with 19 rage regen per second, pretty much permanent Berserk, almost 2000 energy shield regen, big AoE, haste, righteous fire, low life, petrified blood, overleech, damage recoup, avatar fire, adrenaline, power charge stacking. Oh, and did I mention? Big AoE. To not have any confusion with the previous Zoom BV build, let's call this one Rage BV. Like and subscribe. I keep getting the same question. Is this better than Zoom BV? Although it's hard to give a proper answer since I'm still experimenting and evolving the build as I go and earn stonks. What you see in the background is 20 to 40 divine investment, and my Zoom BV guy had over a mirror invested, so comparing them is not fair. But I can already see some big differences, and one thing for sure, this performs immensely better on lower budget. So what's better or worse? Well, first things first, movement speed. You just can't compete with 40% action speed from Self-Chill Elementalist, so in terms of raw movement speed, this build is worse. However, we still have over 200% movement speed and a very zoomy shield charge, which does compensate for the loss of movement speed. This build also has great sustain, it is pretty tanky, 34 BV radius, and it has respectable damage, 6.7 million clear setup, 10.5 million bossing setup. It's just a swap of haste for zealotry and awakened AoE with crit damage support. As an example, I've been delving at depth 300 to 320, killing those delve bosses, searching for big fossils, and monsters there are starting to deal damage, but I haven't been dying much, both in delve and maps. Just, you know, do some bullshit. The usual PoE stuff. At the end of the day, all I can say is it feels amazing to play. So yeah, I can definitely recommend this one. Alright, so let me explain a few things about the build, and first of all, that's the enchant. So, ideally, you would get a Blade Vortex duration enchant, and I am planning to get one, but I don't have it currently. I played without it throughout the whole career of this character so far, and it's playable, it's fine, but that little quality of life is missing and would be very much appreciated. Next one is Berserk. Divergent Berserk to get some spell damage, linked with Enhance to get even more spell damage. But basically how it works is that we get Berserk, I have it on left click, it has 5-second cooldown, and we have a lot of rage regen, so it lasts for like 20 to 30 seconds. It's good, it's nice, it gives us tankiness, gives us zoom, it's very nice. And it scales all the movement speed that we get from other sources and attack speed, because it's more attack speed, more movement speed. It's like really beefing up everything that you get into the build, like onslaught, adrenaline, action speed. It's very nice, very synergistic. The next one then, recovery. So these gloves, which are required for the rage regen, they disable life regeneration. However, we have to invest into it, right? So Inquisitor was like a really nice synergy, because with Pious Path you duplicate life onto your, well, you duplicate life regeneration onto your energy shield. So technically we lose the regen, but we don't lose because we still have the energy shield protecting life and it still has the regen. So investing into regen is less of a downside, because we also can sustain Righteous Fire if we have enough investment into regen, right? So a very nice package. And then other things that I have for my recovery is life gain on kill from Death Rush. Another thing that I have is Petrified Blood and Leech synergy. So basically, as you can see here, we have 50% of our life with Petrified Blood, and then there's a tiny gap. And how it works is that this is your 50% life. Petrified Blood doesn't allow you to recover above that, but when you start leeching and you reach that 50% threshold, and you have a little gap here, or a big gap, it doesn't matter. What happens is that the leech keeps going, but it doesn't recover above 50 life. So if you take damage, it takes that leech and it recovers into life. But if there's nothing happening, right, then the leech will go up and it will start ticking as if you're taking damage and depleting your leech instance until it's completely gone, and then it's over until you hit another enemy and you start leeching in. Basically, that's how it works, and it's very nice. It's like a Slayer leech at a home thingy, but it's very nice synergy. Also, I was spamming this ring with the crit multi essence and I accidentally hit Recoup, and then I was like, wait, that's so good, it synergizes so well, because you take damage on energy shield and it still counts as you taking damage, right? So you start recouping life, which it acts like a regen. So it's great, it's very good, very nice surgery. Next, we have AoE. So the important thing is that you want AoE on the passive tree. You want 2 vast power notables. That's 50 AoE. It's very juicy, right? And then if you want to push it a bit further, there are a few things that you can go for. So Empower level 4 and an amulet like this gives you +3 radius, which is a lot, right? And that's very good. It's pretty expensive. It's something that I didn't have at the beginning, and instead of Empower, I was just using crit damage, and instead of AoE, I didn't have anything. But with money comes great power and great AoE. So this is what I did, and it is very nice. Next, we have gem sockets. So I have Hatred Corruption here on the Death Rush ring. And why do I have it? Because I'm running out of sockets, right? We want the Enhanced, the Berserk, like a lot of stuff. I just literally ran out of sockets. So I have one ring with Arcane Surge on hit because that's 10% spell damage. It's really good. It gives also some mana recovery. So that's why this ring is this ring. And then this ring, I wanted Adrenaline for the zoomies, and then Hatred to save up a gem socket. And if you cannot get this, it is fine. You will lose a little bit of damage, but it's fine. You basically have to drop Enhance, and then you put in Hatred, and the build is fine, right? Budget option, it's fine. Next, Forbidden Jewels. The Forbidden Jewel option is actually pretty budget, and I didn't even think about it at the beginning because I assumed that all of them are expensive, but apparently this is pretty cheap. Augury of Penitence. Nearby enemies take 16% elemental damage, and nearby enemies deal less elemental damage. It's pretty good defense damage, you know, a nice synergy. It's pretty good. And like they cost 1 to 2 divines each. So it's pretty cheap, pretty good, well-rounded stuff. Okay, wait, let me mention one more thing. So there is an upgrade. There is an upgrade for this, which I actually just got recently, today, before starting recording this video, and this is Conviction of Power. So this was my initial goal because it gives +1 power charge, and because I'm a power charge stacking build, you know, +1 power charges are very good. Also, it gives minimum endurance charges, so that's phys damage reduction and resistances, right? So that's really good. I'm gonna be swapping to this, but this is very expensive. They combine is like 30 divines or something like that, so it's way more expensive, and it's just a little bit better. However, it also allows me to drop my Enduring Composure cluster, which means that I save 2 passive points. So it is worth it, but it's very expensive. Okay, next, Megalomaniac and medium clusters. So so basically I have a juicy Megalomaniac, which is what you want, basically vast power and Wrapped in Flame. So Wrapped in Flame gives you good damage, it gives you chill immunity while burning, which, well, Righteous Fire, I'm always burning. And then it gives chance to cover enemies in ash on hit while you're burning, and again, I'm always burning. And that gives me 20% increased fire damage taken on enemies. This is a lot. Like, if you would go to PUB, that is a lot of damage, right? That is a lot of damage. So it is really good, it is important, but the problem is the scarcity of these Megalomaniacs. It is pretty rare. So then it's your call if you want to go for a Megalomaniac that has Wrapped in Flame and something else to maintain the highest damage number and the quality of life from chill immunity, or you go for a medium cluster, pretty much something like this that I have here on the other one, which is Magnifier and Vast Power to get the AoE, to get the damage, keep the AoE, because this is 2 radius AoE, right? So this is important for the AoE, but this is important for damage, so you have to pick one. Or get a Megalomaniac like this, if you get lucky, I suppose. Right. But, okay, there's one positive thing. If you go for a medium cluster here, you have a jewel socket at the end, which means that you can move your Watcher's Eye, which, well, I can cover here. It's a Hatred crit. The important thing is Hatred crit, everything else is just a buff, and I have Fizz damage determination. It's good. it's good. It makes you tankier, right? It's good. But basically, you can move this to this jewel socket if you're using a medium cluster. And then here, this is a very nice spot for an inspired learning. Right? You just take these 2 points, which gives armor, energy shield, and resistances, and you get this one +1 endurance charge, and you put in an inspired learning. And you know, for mapping, I didn't have this at the beginning. It was totally fine. So that's an option if you want to go for that. And I actually want to go for an inspired learning, but I'm not sure yet how to fit it in. I mean, I have a few ideas where I could take the build. I could make an Aegis Aurora version, and I think I will. Because some stuff happened, and I wasn't supposed to do that, but I double crafted a helmet with +1 power charge and reservation, and it did that, and basically that could allow me to. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about that version in this video. It might happen. It probably will happen, and I might make a video about it. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, and the last thing that I wanted to cover is Avatar of Fire. Avatar of Fire, so we need the conversion, right? Because Explode is physical, BV is physical, so there are a few options for conversion, and usually a very nice source of conversion would be gloves, but, well, I'm stuck with these gloves, which means I cannot get conversion, and this seemed like the best option, really, and that's why this build is using this. So let's quickly go over the gear. It's not crazy expensive, but it is something that you kind of want, right? So Void Battery, cast speed doesn't really matter, crit chance doesn't really matter, although the higher the better, everything as usual, right? But no crazy corruptions, nothing. AoE, Enchant, this is actually pretty good, but you have to see in the POB if this is worth with your setup, right? If you reach enough AoE, because this is only a few percent of AoE, so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's worth it for every setup. But for my setup, it was enough to bring me to the next threshold for +1 radius, so I have it. The ring, as I mentioned, Arcane Surge on hit, it saves a gem socket, that's really good. Then we have the ring, the other one, Death Rush for adrenaline, Hatred to save another gem socket. The amulet, it's +2 physical or +1 all skill gems, that also works. And then I have a duplicated dexterity roll just to get my haste into the build. Without an amulet like this, you would be struggling with dexterity quite a bit. There's that. And then the helmet is +1 power charge, synthesized implicit. That's the budget option. Well, the budget option is without power charges, right? But then this is good. Then you just spam this with the reservation essence until you hit resistances, life, whatever that you are missing in the build. And then the expensive version, which is why I double corrupted that helmet that I just leaked accidentally, is you go for a Warlord +1 power charge, you go for Redeemer reservation efficiency, you mash them together, and then you try to get something, right, and then double corrupt for another power charge, and that will be my goal, but it's very unlikely to hit. I tried a few tries, I didn't get lucky, so yeah, I bricked 2. One that didn't poof was interesting, so I'm gonna try to do something with it. But basically that was why I was corrupting them. Okay, let's just keep going. So +1 power charge shield. I spammed an essence that gives me resistance because I really need to cap my resistances. So I was spamming essence, which gives me lightning resistance or fire resistance or cold resistance, and then, you know, just swap them into the resistance that you need with harvest. But I was doing that until I hit +1 physical and crafted life, and there it is. I need to recraft it. It could be way better, but this is what I have right now. And then the boots. These boots are very nice. I got them on my other build, and I can use them on this build, which is amazing. But it's basically, yeah, just action speed, life regeneration rate implicit, movement speed with onslaught on kill. Life regeneration rate is important for your sustain, and it's important for your rage regen. And then capping resistances. Pretty straightforward, but very, very nice. And then the belt. So I made this myself, I enchanted it myself, I corrupted it myself. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The newly updated Immortal Flesh gives you a lot of regen, and it's very nice synergy for this build because we do need a lot of regen for the rage regen. Also, it gives you mana recovery, well, mana regeneration rate, which is also important. So this build, like, I've been asked if Headhunter Mageblood doesn't work for this build. Yes, it does, but this is so cheap and it's so good. You know, it's so cheap and it's so good. Anyway, yeah, and then the body armor. Okay, so the last piece is the body armor, and it's also pretty important what I have here for the purpose of getting more AoE. Basically, I was struggling with currency when I crafted this, so what I have here is +1 active socketed skill gems, and then quality to those active socketed skill gems. What that gives me is basically just 5% AoE, which was enough to bring me to the next threshold for the AoE, and that's why I went for it. Also, it's good to mention that going for elevated explodey is better, going for elevated both is even better, but as I said, I was struggling with money pretty heavily at that time, so I got just normal explodey. I tried to craft it, oh my god, I got such bad luck with explodey crafting that I just got this and I said whatever, I just want the body armor and I went for it. And then, as you can see here, it has some interesting suffixes. So basically, how you want to craft this body armor is you want to take the explodey, ideally elevated, and then +1 active skills, ideally elevated, mash them together, and hope to get, well, life on the prefix would be amazing. As you can see, I don't have it. The thing that you want to get is spell crit chance on the suffix. So your goal is to get an open suffix, so we can do prefixes cannot be changed, and then reforge caster. That guarantees spell critical strike chance. It doesn't guarantee tier 1, but it guarantees spell critical strike chance. And then if it has an open suffix, 1, then you just craft what do you want to craft, like resistances. If it has 2 open suffixes, then you craft something that would block the most amount of, like, you know, the weighting. I think I crafted attributes, hybrid dexterity intelligence, so that it blocks both of them. And then I Exile slammed and I got tier 1 item rarity, which is, you know, nowadays it's pretty good for those arch nemesis, so that you don't have to call in a magic find color. It's probably still better, but I can't be bothered. So this is really nice, and this is why it sucks. It sucks that it's so good, because I can't really justify recrafting this with elevated explodey because it will not have the item rarity. And I want the item rarity, dude, you know? So probably gonna just have to divine this until I get 30 explodey, because 22 is pretty low. It's pretty low, let's be real here. It's pretty low, and it's performing fine, but it could be better. It could be better, and I couldn't mess some divines. I just didn't want to prioritize this because the build works, explodey works, chaining explodey works, but it could be better. So yeah, that's about it. All right, so the build is amazing. I can definitely recommend it. I'm gonna push it further beyond. Oh my god, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna invest multiple mirrors. Well, maybe not, but we'll see. I mean, I'll experiment. I have a few versions in mind that I want to go for. An Aegis version, full damage version, stuff like that, right? Like level 100 is my goal right now, and then I'm gonna play with it a little bit. So anyway, catch you in the next one, and stay awesome.